Hey, well, welcome. I'm Pastor Mark, and as you know, I get the privilege of hanging out with the youth and young adults here at Bramley Baptist Church in beautiful Brampton. Boy, it's a blessing to be by your side. I'm trying to use as many B's as I can, but I better be more behaved and bring this beyond boyish alliteration. Hey, this is a time for students and families for them to be engaged with the Word of God and staying in the loop of what God is doing in and through the ministry here at BBC for youth and for families. I just like to use this time just to remind us to update. We're in a rhythm for Fridays. We encourage the first Friday of the month is worship together. That's a stream that we do online. The second and third Fridays of the month are opportunities to be engaging on Zoom and going through a series about practicing the way, following Jesus. And the last Friday of the month is really like a social, an outreach, a fun time, and that is also on Zoom. So that's what we do on Fridays. On Sunday mornings, we're here, 10:30, connect in. We're doing the series called Echo, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. And then during the week, we want to encourage every student who's in junior high rooted, grade 6 to 8, in senior high starting line, grade 9 to 12, to be involved in a small group. If you're not in a small group, please let me know and we'll get you connected in with that. Hey, this series that we're talking about, I introduced it a couple of weeks ago talking about echo, this picture of this voice echoing across the large expanse, echoing across the canyon, and it was really about listening. But it's not listening for our own voice, when you do it in echo. It's listening for God's voice. This picture where the Bible is told in a series, and there's 26 of these different stories. And I've warned you that some of these stories are very unique, and you have to actually listen and look for what's there compared to what you think you know is what's there. It's all part of God's plan. It's all part of His purpose. It's one grand narrative of what happens. So each week, we want you to join us here at this time and to be engaged in that. For today, we're going to be talking about or hearing the story of Cain and Abel in Genesis 4. Each week, we'll have in the byline or some way to tell you where to find it, and then all of this will be put on the website so you can follow up with the questions. So don't be too afraid. And so the story of Cain and Abel, it comes after our first story when we were talking about the first humans. God created us. He started the story off, gave us context, and then almost immediately there's separation as we choose to disobey and walk away from the good plan that God had. So in the story of Cain and Abel, it gets a little bit intense. In fact, it gets a lot intense. And we learn lots of new and interesting things about God. So let's hear what the story of Cain and Abel has to say. This is the story of Cain and Abel. After leaving the garden, Adam and Eve had sons named Cain and Abel. They started this family. When their first son was born, they named him Cain. And Eve shouted, "God has helped us create another human." Not long after that, Adam and Eve had a second son, and they named him Abel. When their sons grew up, Cain became a farmer, and Abel became a shepherd. At harvest time, people would bring gifts or portions for their work, called offerings, and they would give them to God. So Cain brought some of his farm produce, and Abel brought the very best lambs from his flock to be offered to God. And when God saw their gifts, He accepted Abel's offering, but He rejected Cain's. This made Cain very angry and upset. "Why are you so angry?" God asked Cain. "Why do you look so discouraged? You'll be accepted if you do what's right. But if you refuse to do what's right, then watch out. Sin is crouching at your door, waiting to attack and destroy you, and you must bring it under control." Soon after that, Cain suggested to his brother, Abel, "Why don't we go out into the field?" While they were walking in the field, Cain attacked and killed his brother. This was the first murder described in the Bible. Later on, God asked Cain, "Where's your brother Abel?" I don't know, Cain replied. Am I supposed to be keeping track of him wherever he goes? But God said, what have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. I'm removing you from this land that you've corrupted with your brother's blood. From now on, you will be homeless, a fugitive who wanders from place to place. Cain replied to God, this punishment is more than I can handle. You've removed me from my home and from your presence. You have made me a fugitive. All who see me will try to kill me. God replied, no. Anyone who tries to harm you will receive 7 times your punishment. Then God put a mark on Cain to warn anyone who might try to attack him. Cain left God's presence and traveled to the land east of the garden, where he would start his own family soon. Hey, that was pretty intense, that story, right? The story of Cain and Abel. Of course, I'm sure you've heard it before, but the point is, what did you observe of what was going on with that? So here's just some questions to think about. And again, I really want to encourage you to go to the website and check out more. So one of the common themes that we will be trying to ask as we pull things out of the story always is where do we see God in this? And this whole picture of, do we learn anything about us as humans or the human race? But some of the other ones I think are really helpful in this story is, what did God say to Cain after he rejected his offering? And what do you think that meant? Another one that I really think is intense is, why do you think Cain killed his brother? Like, this is intense, the first murder in the Bible. And you know, where did he learn to do this evil? Along that line, if Cain inherited his sin from his parents, do you think Abel was also a sinner? So God's reaction to the murder, really important. What's going on there? Another good question. So as I also said, what's going on with humans and what's going on with what do we see about God? These questions are supposed to spur us to look and engage and to see. Again, that picture is, what is this echoing voice in this story as we look at the story of Cain and Abel? Hey, from each of these stories, just make sure that we're looking at what is God doing and what's happening. Again, check out the website for the references, and really thanks for being part of this morning and being here. Just encourage you, if you've got a grandchild, if you have a child who's not engaging in this and you're watching this, phone them up, call them, or text them and say, hey, come on and join this every week. We'll see you later.